Well, hey folks, hanging out here in the backcountry. Tommy the trail dog hanging out off camera. You might see some squirrels throughout this video and bark and nip a little bit at them, yip a little bit. But today, guys, I usually have like some zippy, intro or whatever, but honestly, it's just kind of like what took me so long. These knives have been around for over 25 years. We're gonna take a look at the Gerber Gator series, and particularly the folding, kind of original Gerber Gator with the 420 high carbon clip point, but also the 154 cm full flat ground version as well. Kind of put them head to head, discuss, and see why, one, what took me so long, but also what do these big, bulky lockback knives, definitely with a hunting vibe and feel and focus, and why for some reason I'm just enjoying using these blades. Well, that's right, we're gonna have some fun looking at some blades that I should have honestly gotten in the rotation and just done a video years ago. And I just kind of always poo-pooed them. I was like, man, those are just so bulky, so big, just like, I mean, if I want something that big, I'll just go with a fixed blade. Like this one, the Gerber Gator fixed blade, 420 high carbon, USA made. Recently did a video on this, got it at a screaming deal. We'll have a link for you guys below if you want to see the video on the full tang, hunting, compact belt knife, basically, that this is. And when I got this, I was like, you know what? I'm digging this for some reason, just so much, that I need to get the folder. So that's what I did. I first got the clip point with the 420, and after a while using it, I was like, man, I need to get the 154 cm version. I got to use that too, see what that does. I'm really enjoying putting it on the belt. And I know for many of you who were in the military in the early 90s when the Gerber Gator came out, I see comments often when I make posts and we're talking about the Gator series that you guys go like, yeah, I had the either serrated clip point or just the plain edge, and that was like my duty knife, my pocket knife, that I had with me. When you were in the Coast Guard, Air Force, Army, Marines, I mean, all of it, the Navy, whatever it was, a lot of you made comments of that when you were in the services in the early 90s when this hit the market. It was a super popular knife for lots of people who needed a knife and wanted that big full handle. If you were in one of the armed services branches and you did carry one of the Gerbers, I'd love to hear your comment below, or maybe you currently do. I'd love to just see that. That always is a fun comment to see when you're like, yeah, dude, I'm carrying that right now, or I did, for 4 years for my tour, and fill in the blank. That's always a cool thing to see. So leave those comments below. So we're just gonna have some fun today, running these Gerber Gators through their paces, seeing what these bulky, beefy folders have going on, and just what their capabilities are, and why would I, who's somebody who looks for lightweight, slim pocket knives usually, fall in love with these really kind of bulky, huge handled folders. Okay, so first off, I'll just hit this. I know some of you are noticing these little thumb studs, and these obviously don't come standard with the Gator line. These are quick thumb studs. You screw in to any folder that is 0.13 or thinner. They'll screw in nicely. They are rock solid. I've had them for years on my buck knives and other knives that maybe don't have a thumb stud to deploy manually, nail nick, or with these, they don't even have nail nicks. You're basically doing like a pinch move without them. But for about $5 to $10, just kind of depends on who, what, when, where, why, it makes the deployment so much more enjoyable and so much easier on any knife that doesn't standard come with a thumb stud. So, and I've never had them loosen up or fall off in a couple years now of using these thumb studs regularly. So that's what we're using, just to kind of make the action a lot more enjoyable. So we got to look at the handle first. I mean, Gator, that's literally the name of the knife, and that's kind of the idea with these handles. Is it's a polymer rubberized material, so it's ultra grippy, super warm to the touch, meaning that it just feels very good, organic, grippy. It's not going to be slick in any way, shape, or form, and it has kind of the texturing of alligator skin or crocodile skin. They could have called it the croc as well, but I think because it's American made, they want to go with alligator and gator. So completely contoured, zero blockiness. Every single angle is rounded. So, I mean, if you're looking for ergonomics and you want that in a folder, particularly if you are using your knife a lot, you know, for a quick, you know, you're whipping it out and you're opening the mail that came or the other knife that just came, you know, the packaging for that, you know, and maybe a little, you know, piece of packaging here and there, and that's about all you use your pocket knife for. Well, then, yeah, obviously, slim, lightweight, it doesn't really matter. You're not really bearing down on it, you know, and spending maybe 20 minutes with that knife regularly, you know, cutting open stuff or using it, or woods crafting, or, you know, cleaning an animal, you know, after the kill or whatever it would be. So that's why for hunters, outdoorsmen, and obviously, like I said earlier, like military, it makes a lot of sense because you're going to get a very full handle. And I wear large size gloves, as you guys that follow the channel regularly know. There we go. Let's just make sure that's all zoomed in there. You got a huge guard, so you're really locked into place. I mean, it literally feels like you're gripping a basketball, you know, and then that very full feeling all the way through, all the way around. And even when we look at it against its fixed blade brethren, you can just see there, it's a mirror image, both in thickness, but also in the cut-ins and just the contouring. I mean, it's basically the exact same handle on both the fixed blade and its thickness and the folder. So you're getting the ergonomics of a fixed blade, which is why you usually, one of the main reasons why you want one, because it's very organic, fills out the hand more than most folders will, and gives you the traction and grip that you need. Now, the 154 cm version will have the exact same handle as well. So they're following that with the entire series. You know, they're keeping it with the same texture, they're keeping it with the same materials, and then they're keeping it with the same size as well. Now, these knives will not have any liner in there. It's just that rigid polymer, basically. I can get just microns of flex if I really, like, right in the center, kind of crank on it. And it does have, you know, a centerpiece, you know, polymer core there. So it's definitely dense enough for all general utility use. Sure, if you drove over it a couple times with your car, it might crack or break, or might start seeing some internal issues. But overall, for the average general use and just hard use, I'd put this in the hard use category. The handle is going to hold up really well. Now onto the lockup. It's a standard lock back design. I like that the locking mechanism is right here in the center. You know, like the Buck 110 that we'll look at here in just a little bit for competitive options and discuss that. The locking mechanism is back here, and back in the, you know, 90s on backwards, often that's what they were doing with lockbacks, was all the way back here, which makes it difficult to close one-handed and disengage the lock. Here in the center is really where I like it. It's a very thick, robust lock bar right there, and it snaps right into place. Because of that polymer, you will have slight rock around the joint here. So that's just something you got to be aware of. If that's a deal killer for you, totally get it. I'll give you some competitive options here in a little bit. But it's going to have very similar play to like a Buck 110 in its flex there that you're going to feel. But up and down, it's nice and locked in and secure. And I even batoned with this 154 cm version just to split a little bit of kindling, just to see how that locking mechanism held up and did it loosen up or anything. And it was nice and solid and rigid after the fact. And then again, because of where that disengagement is, I can easily depress that, hit the ricasso on my finger, close up the blade. So in that regard, it makes it for a very smooth, very easy deployment. I can almost do it, let's see, without flicking the wrist. I have to give a little inertia just because of how big the knife is. Ooh, let's see if I can do it. Come on. There you go. And then obviously, if you didn't have the quick thumb stud, which again I think is like a must, it really helps accentuate just the functionality of this knife and any knife that, you know, has a nail nick. But you have a huge amount of area on both of the knives to use your finger, boom, open it up, and then you just close it, and you're ready to rock and roll. Okay. So one thing that I really like about these Gators is the fact that you get a lot of blade options. Now, with the clip point version here, made in Portland, Oregon, USA made, 420 high carbon steel. Gerber uses that a lot. I would say they're one of the better companies that uses that, along with like Buck. And I'm sure I'm pulling a blank. There's probably one or two other ones that do a good job. Now, this is a Rockwell on this 420 of 56 to 58, and it's going to be 3.75 inches overall, with about a 3 1/4 inch cutting edge, about 1/8 of an inch thick, maybe just a hair over. And then it's going to have a hollow grind with that really nice clip. I just love that clip point. Now you can get these with serrations as well. So if that's something that you're into or feel like you need because of a lot of the cordage you go through and stuff, I like the plain edges better. I just connect with them more. But there is that option that you can choose from. So that 420 working out really well. And that hollow grind, very good. It bites in really well into like wood, into other materials that you may be going through, cordage, rope, you know, all that type of stuff. It's going to work really well. The tip is going to pierce very, very nicely and give you a good penetration, which is something that's important, you know, when you are looking at certain types of knives, depending on your style, depending on your preference. Food prep as well, I was pleased with for a hollow grind. It does well cutting through chicken, you know, so I know this is kind of really focuses like a hunting knife. So you hunters out there, you know, it'll be able to clean through that meat easily and process that meat easily. And you hunters, you know, that are watching that own a Gerber Gator, I'd love to hear your comment below. You know, how are you experiencing it? You know, how does it perform for you? Me not being a hunter, but just being general utility, I'm very pleased with this performance, and the blade itself will resharpen very easily as well, which is a good thing when you're out in the field. You may need to tune up the blade. But what's cool is that you can get that drop point with that full flat grind in 154 cm. 154 cm is a stainless steel, obviously an upgrade over 420 high carbon. And so you're gonna get a great relief edge. Everything, all the action you're seeing in these videos is the factory edge. I didn't do any sort of tuning up. I didn't put my own edge on them. They are factory edges, and they did really well. Good relief edges. I was kind of concerned it'd be kind of a blunt tip. It is definitely a precise tip, so you can definitely pierce well with it. Obviously not as well as the clip point, but that really classic drop, very broad leaf shape design there. And it will cut as well very nicely through all the different types of materials you may put up against it. The one thing that I noticed is, particularly with food prep, I like the full flat grind better. Think of most of your kitchenware is gonna be a full flat grind. It just chops vegetables a little bit better than the hollow grind. It'll even go through the meat a little bit better than the hollow grind, just because of edge geometry. It's nothing with the steels or anything like that. It's just hollow versus full flat. And so the full flat grind, if you think you're gonna be doing definitely like more food prep with the knife, or that's definitely like a major aspect of what you want the knife to do, then the full flat will perform slightly better. And then obviously the 154 cm producing better edge retention and better rust resistance as well. This version will also be 3.75 inches overall, and then about 3 1/4 actual cutting edge. Neither of these knives will actually, the entire Gerber Gator line that I, if I remember correctly, definitely the cheaper fixed blade, does not have a 90-degree spine. So those of you who are wanting to use this as an outdoor knife, there's plenty of areas to just put, like sand it slightly to get a sharpened edge if you want to throw sparks with it or scrape with it, but they don't come like that from the factory. So how about affecting your pocketbook? How are these going to affect your pocketbook? I went out and bought both of these and bought the little quick studs for them as well. And usually it varies, but they're extremely inexpensive for everything that you're getting. Again, USA made. The 420 high carbon versions are going to come in anywhere from like $31 to like $38. I would never pay more than 40 bucks for one of these, because they come in all ranges around there. I've usually found bladehq has one of the better pricing, around $31 for the 420 version. Amazon, you can get them for something like 33 and 38. So we'll have links for you guys below. We do appreciate when you use all the hyperlinks that we offer to you in the description box when you are making your purchasing decisions, if these are something that is going to connect with you. Now, the 154 cm versions, not much more. You'd think like, oh, okay, maybe like 60 bucks, you know, something like that. No, bladehq has them for 40. And average, I actually picked this one up on Amazon, not knowing that bladehq had it for that cheap. I was looking around, just didn't think that it would be all that much cheaper. I paid $50 for it, so anywhere between $40 and $50 is on average what you're gonna pay for the 154 cm version. So again, links below for you, but those are screaming deals. Even with like the $5 you throw on for the thumb stud, easily being able to, if you kind of hunt around, get either of these knives for under 40 for the 420 and under 50 for the 154 cm. Okay, so we're gonna talk sheath real fast before I run in competitive options for you. Nylon sheath with a Velcro closure there, well built. It's going to have 2-stage looping here, so you can kind of have a high ride or a low ride. I tend to do a low ride, and you can then throw it on your belt, obviously. So I've never really been in the past more of like a belt carry guy. I don't carry my Leathermans there usually. I don't carry, you know, bigger like buck 110s and stuff, and from time to time, but it's a rarity. But just because of these knives, and once I got them and started playing with them and started, you know, like like, yeah, I'll carry this for a week on my belt. Let's just see what it's like. I'm gravitating more and more to it. Now, definitely depends on the season of the year, you know, bulkier clothes, or, you know, if I'm doing hard work in the yard, or, you know, camping, you know, that type of stuff, it makes sense. If I'm just going to the office, it's not necessarily something I'm always going to wear or carry, but I'm warming up to the idea, and the Gerber Gators have definitely done that, and this sheath is absolutely passable. You know, some of you may want to, you know, upgrade to Kydex or leather and dig around and try and find something like that. The nylon definitely gets the job done. So honestly, the knife that really gives these a run for its money, I believe, is the Buck 110 LT. This is their lightweight version of the Buck 110. We did a video on it about a year or two ago when it came out, and I really felt like it met a niche in my Buck 110 line, because I wanted something that still gave me the full handle feel of the 110 series and just a fuller pocket knife feel, but gave me better texture than the slick wood, and just give me lighter weight and a lanyard hole. That's really like what I was kind of looking for, and that's exactly what this knife is. So what we're looking at is 3.75 from handle to tip. We're looking at 3 1/4 cutting edge, hollow grind, 420 high carbon, USA made, lightweight polymer, no liners. In that regard, it comes with a nylon pouch as well. It'll have 2 ways of carry, not only your belt horizontal, but also, or excuse me, vertical, but you can also run it horizontal. I like that feature. I wish the Gerber had that. You know, not a deal killer, but just a little bit more, you know, attachment options basically. Obviously a thinner handle and a lighter weight package overall, and it will come in a little bit cheaper as well. It's going to come in around like $25 to $27. So, you know, about $10 less than the Gerber. Obviously it's a smaller overall knife, but you know, it still has that kind of rock that we talked about, side to side, good lockup up and down. But that's just a good option, you know, for you to consider if you're thinking about the Gerber Gator. But where I really believe what makes the Gerber Gator so attractive to me is the handle. It's not so much the blades, it's the handle, that it's so full, so big, so grippy and ergonomic that it feels like a good size fixed blade, but I'm rocking a pocket knife. And so that's really, if you're looking at the Gator series, that's why you're probably getting it, is way more for the Gator grip than necessarily what the front end of the blade has. Obviously it's got to cut and do all those things, but you know what I mean? That is the ergonomics. And so this definitely still feels more like a pocket knife, whereas the Gators feel more like a fixed blade that folds up. But maybe up to this point, you're like, dude, I love everything about these knives, except for the fact that there's just not a pocket clip. I need a pocket clip. I don't want a pouch carry. It's just like a non-starter for me. If there was something that was very similar, but, you know, giving me a big full handle, good strong lock back, but, you know, didn't necessarily need to upgrade to these, like, you know, aftermarket thumb studs to deploy faster, and had a pocket clip, that's really what I need. Well, guess what? I would highly recommend taking a look at the Cold Steel Voyager, now with AUS 10 steel. Basically almost the exact same size, and even in some ways the handle has a very similar shape. The handle will be even slightly larger. Thumb stud, obviously, full flat grind with a clip. So you're getting the best of kind of both of these worlds here. And that AUS 10 steel, it's a newer steel that Cold Steel has been using. It comes very close to like VG10 and 154CM. It's right in that same family. There are some other blade shapes available, and you are going to get obviously that pocket clip right there. I love this knife. It's a phenomenal option. You know, still these have grippier, more comfortable, and even slightly fuller handles, but not by much. And it will come in usually around 50 bucks. So on the high end of the 154CM Gerber Gator. So that is a great option if you need a pocket clip and a thumb stud and you're wanting that, but you're wanting that big, full handled pocket knife. Well, I love that action. It's just so much fun. It is smooth for these big blades. Really good, smooth action there. To wrap it up, guys, I mean, I'm really digging the blades. Obviously, I've bought several of them, and I didn't really have any plans to until I got the fixed blade, and I was like, man, this is a sick knife. I need to go back and get these, a more budget, you know, series. There is the premium line. From what I can tell, Gerber, when I looked them up on their site, they don't even have them on their site anymore. When I'm making this video, fall 2020, bladehq does have the S30V versions of the premium fixed blade and folder still available, but from what I'm seeing, I think they're discontinued. You know, I'll try and put a comment below and pin it if that's not the case, and I hear something from Gerber that says otherwise, but it's not on their website anymore, and I'm not seeing them in most distributors. They all say out of stock, or even a few say discontinued. So if you like everything you see here with these folders and fixed blades that we've been talking about, but you want the S30V premium versions, those are sick. I'll have a link to my other video I did on those. You know, those are about double the price, you know, in the 80s and 90s on their price points, but they are still available, and the S30V is obviously a really good steal. But for these guys, I mean, for the prices that we've been talking about and just their performance, and as I've been telling you, just this connection that I have with this, you know, carrying it on my belt, particularly like fall, winter time, you know, colder weather environments where I don't need a big pocket knife, or excuse me, a slim, lightweight pocket knife all the time. These big ones have a lot of versatility when you're camping and hiking, or just using your, you know, blades a lot. So for me, if I was going to give a recommendation, because the prices are so close, and you do get better edge retention, and I feel like for just general use, the full flat works a little bit better, even though it's not aesthetically as cool. I would say go with the 154 cm full flat version, full flat grind version if you can find it. But I would say if you are maybe more in law enforcement or military, and you're looking to carry this as possibly like a utility tool, even possibly in a pinch self-defense tool, then the clip point would probably be a little bit better. And if price is just a major factor to you, or you want to get both, that clip point with the hollow grind still does really, really well, and is awesome, and looks, the aesthetics look a little cooler to me. Tommy's getting a little whiny over here. I think he's seeing a squirrel or something. So folks, I think that if you don't mind carrying your pocket knife on your belt, I think this is one of the better options out there for the value to performance to ergonomics that this thing gives you. Is so much fun to use. It's so grippy. It's so comfortable, and there are multiple options out there that you can pick your poison and then enjoy basically the ergonomics of a full-size fixed blade, but more of the versatility of carry and smaller package of carry in a pocket knife. So there you have it, folks. Thanks so much for coming over today. I invite you to subscribe if you're not a current subscriber. Check out the other video popping up, and check us out on Instagram and Facebook as well. We're putting up content there all the time, seeing stuff from behind the scenes and projects I'm working on. And finally, guys, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.